What's up, golf addicts? David Barnett with the Tour Junkies here. I'm at lovely Champions Retreat on the Gary Player course. This is number 9. Beautiful golf hole right here. We're getting ready for the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. And you're watching The Stripe Show with my good buddy, Travis Fulton, who's taught me how to do this. That is freaking pipe. Look at that.
Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of The Stripe Show. I'm your host, Travis Fulton, and of course this is our second episode. Thanks so much for watching our first episode last week at Orange County National. We had a lot of fun, great feedback, but it's time for episode number 2, and check out where we are at. We are at Topgolf here in Jacksonville, one of the best places to come and entertain yourself around the game of golf. We're excited. We hope you are too. Got a good show for you here today. Let's get started with the Stripe Show. Tell me when big 3. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Topgolf, Jacksonville. What a great week of golf last week. API, Arnold Palmer Invitational there in Orlando, Florida. And my top 3 here this week, of course, you got to start with Rory McIlroy. What a difference a week makes. I mean, we talked about it last week in the first episode of the Stripe Show that Rory McIlroy was struggling with his putting. He looked like a mess. I thought he was in between what he was doing before with Dave Stockton and now what he's doing with Phil Kenyon. Well, I suggested a change, and a change happened. What did Rory do? He talked to Brad Faxon. Great idea. Always go to dinner with good putters. And on Monday, Brad Faxon just spent about a couple hours, and it sounds like Rory decided to go to be a little more instinctive, a little less mechanical, and that's exactly what I thought he should do. And how about first in strokes gained putting to win his 14th title on the PGA Tour? Remarkable turnaround. My second takeaway, Tiger Woods. Of course, I think he's still moving in the right direction. I see quite a few people there on Twitter think that's kind of a step in the wrong direction. The putter's good, the short game still looks good. Maybe not quite as pronounced there with the iron game. The distance is still there, but hey, he's got to get the driver in place. 7 penalty shots. He's got to continue to work on the things that he is. And coming up later in the show, in the pro breakdown section, I'm going to give you my thoughts on Tiger Woods and what I think he needs to continue to do with the driver. And finally, my third takeaway, well, you got to go with the king, Arnold Palmer. It's really cool to see the API do so well. Tiger Woods gives it a big boost. Rory McIlroy, a deserving champion. Of course, the last time Rory McIlroy won on the PGA Tour was the passing of Arnold Palmer back on September 25 of 2016. I had the great pleasure of meeting Arnold Palmer a couple times through my times at Golf Channel and through my time at MasterCard, and it was just amazing to watch the king in work, where he would work the crowd, he'd be so nice to people, and all the great qualities that he had both on and off the golf course. I think his biggest asset is he would simply give you time. He would give you time for a picture, and he would give you time to talk and get to know you. A remarkable person, and we certainly miss him. All right, so enough with last week. Let's get into our first user analysis here, video analysis, and this one comes from Pat Perry, the other leg of the Tour Junkies. Pat, what do you got?
What's up, Travis? I am loving the new Stripe Show on the 18Birdies app, but I need some help. I need some help bad. So here's what I'm going to do. I am about 180 yards out on a par 4. I've hit my nice butter cut off the tee, about 244 yards. And so what I'm going to do is I want to hit this 5-iron that I've got here. And this is really the toughest shot for me that I have in the bag. Whenever I'm maybe a 3, 4, 5-iron out to the green, that is where I'm the most nervous. So I want you to look at my swing, see what you can improve, but also tell me how to hit this shot with as much confidence as I can every time I step up to it. So here we go. Left of the green. Travis, I need a bunch of help.
All right, Pat, let's take a look at the swing here. First thing, your shoulders are definitely a little open. Go ahead and take your shoulders, close them a little bit more off to the right. Now, your swing shape, see this a lot here. The club head's going to go inside first. So watch here, club head gets under that yellow line quick. See how the club head is behind your hands? Then you get into a decent position at the top here. Nice shoulder turn. Good balance there. But watch here now. Now you come down above it. That club shaft right there is too steep coming down. It's too much on your lead forearm. Okay? So it went back in here. All right, look where that club shaft is right here. And then it comes down up here, right? So we need to reverse that. And I noticed that you pulled that there. You do a nice job turning through it. A lot of good stuff with the body movement, but we have to change the shape. We've got to get the club head more out and up first. We've got to get the club head out here. And then it can work around you. And then it can come down and shallow out, where that club shaft can sit more back in here on your right forearm. So I'm going to show you how to change the shape of the swing, reverse it from what it is right now, and I think you'll hit your 5-iron a lot better.
All right, thanks so much, Pat. Good looking golf swing. I've got a few things for you. You got a common error that I see a lot where players take the club and they get the club too far in here like this, right away, inside. See the shaft parallel? Club face is behind my hands, and then you're in recovery mode. Even though you make a good turn, you got to steepen the shaft coming down. So you'll see how that shaft's out here on your left forearm. We've got to switch that up a little bit. You've got to get the club head working a little bit more out in front of you, not so much in, get it out here, and then from there make your turn and then work it back underneath that, right? So your sequence right now is it goes in, and then it goes up, and then it goes out, right? We got to go the other way. We got to go more out, and then we got to go around, and then we got to let it shallow out back in. So it's going to feel a little bit like a loop, kind of an a la Jim Furyk. And for so many of you at home, you're doing the same thing, and I think that's good advice for you. If you can do that, I think it's going to help that pull shot to the left. It's going to get the path working a little bit more out to the right, and I think you'll get that club face looking more down the target line consistently with that 5-iron. That's a move that's troublesome as the club gets longer, and usually the 5-iron, it starts to show up. So work on that, and then let me know how that goes. Now, I think you might know this other person. It's David Barnett. It's the other partner in crime of the Tour Junkies. Can't wait to see this. David, what do you got?
All right, David, let's take a look here. I noticed you're not playing with Pat today. Now, a lot of good things here. I know you've been working hard on your swing, and you're trying to gain more control of your club face. Now, you do a good job right there. As you get up to the top here, club gets a little across the line. See how the club's pointing over this way like this? I want to see if we can get the club a little bit more kind of back in this way. And the way that we're going to do that is I want you to pinch your elbows. All right, take your elbows there. Feel like your right elbow is going to pinch your left a little bit more, and then let that left wrist flatten out. Your elbows are apart. The lead wrist gets a little bit cupped, and I think that'll get the club face and the club shaft in a better position at the top to achieve some forward shaft lean. And I know at the bottom, in looking at your swing from face on, you have a little tendency to kind of flip it through here. The shaft will lean back a bit. And some of that I think can be shored up at the top of the swing. Nice job here coming down. I can see the weight shift. I can see some rotation. But I think we can do some good here at the top if we take the elbows, pinch them together, flatten the lead wrist, and you'll feel that kind of sustain to here and lead to more forward shaft lean through the strike, allowing you to control the face. So let me show you how to do that.
All right, David, thanks for the video. And I've been watching your swing now over the last couple years, and you're doing a good job. That swing is improving, and you need more club face control as a function of getting some more forward shaft lean. Now, to get more forward shaft lean, I think for you, let's get that club face in a little better position. What I'd like to see you do when you go up here, take your elbows and take that right elbow and pinch the left a little bit more. It's this movement, external rotation, not down, but pinching the left. So go up there, let your right elbow pinch the left, and then this lead wrist starts to flatten out a little bit. See that lead wrist right there? Don't cup it. Elbows get apart, lead wrist starts to cup. So you go up there, that really gets the shaft pointing a little bit more, what we prefer, a little bit more kind of laid off here rather than across the line. And then when you come down, let that left hand start to curl the face. Right elbow still pinches, left hand curls the face so the toe's curling in and not staying up like that. And I think if you could do that up here, pinch, left wrist flat, and then start to curl, that'll allow you, let's go to face on here now, that'll allow you to come in with more forward shaft length, okay? So I'm pinching, I'm curling the lead hand, and then I can turn and come in here with more forward shaft length. So I like that, maybe hit some 3/4 shots, get the feeling of that, and what you'll see is that ball flight will start to come down as a result of forward shaft length. So shorten it up, work on that elbow, work on the curl of the lead hand, and I think you start to achieve more forward shaft length. Hey, I appreciate you guys sending in your videos. The Tour Junkies, check them out. You can go to Twitter @tour_junkies. Go to their website, tourjunkies.com. They are the leaders in fantasy golf. I love fantasy golf. A couple big tournaments coming up this week. Of course, the headliner is the Dell Technologies Match Play, another World Golf Championship. Now, let's segue into a segment that we do each and every week. We call it 14 Strong, and 14 Strong is all about taking one club, talking about how to improve it, but this week is a specific shot around the greens with what club? Let's go to 14 Strong. All right, time for another 14 Strong, and remember, each week we're gonna take a look at one club in your bag, 14 clubs in your bag, and we wanna make them all a strength. And right now, there's probably one or two or maybe a handful, or for maybe some, all of them, that are giving you some problems right now. Now, we're gonna talk about a specific shot this week, and that specific shot is gonna be what we call a hinge and hold when we're greenside, just like this, and need to hit kind of that medium trajectory shot that hits the green and has a little bit of run out. And the club that I want you to do that with is the 56-degree wedge. Now, if you don't have a 56, maybe you have a 54 or a 58. We want to stay in that 56 number. I have 12 degrees of bounce. I like that number, 12 degrees of bounce. That can help you when you get around the greens. And so many times, of course, we miss the green and the ball starts to kind of run off the top shelf of the green and down into these collection areas. And when they get into these collection areas, sometimes they end up in the rough, sometimes they're in the fairway, and we need a shot, a go-to shot, if you will, that we can hit. And we're gonna call that shot a hinge and hold. And when I think of hinge and hold, I think of Phil Mickelson. Nobody better at the hinge and hold. So what does it mean? Because the technique is exactly really what the words suggest. The first word, of course, is a hinge. A wrist hinge gets the club head working up like this. And then hold means basically we're gonna try to keep the wrist firm and hold the shaft relatively in line with the arms coming through. We're not gonna let the club head really pass out like this with what we would see with a lob shot. So we're greenside, we need to get the ball up in the air, medium trajectory. It hits the front of the green and then it runs out towards the flag. So I've got to have a little bit of green to work with. So let's get into the technique and how this works. 56 degrees, we're going to open the face just a little bit. You can vary the amount that you open the face at address, and that'll really influence the initial launch of the golf ball. And if I opened it more, that might be a good one here for some of these shorter shots right here as we have off to the left. But we're going to this one on the right. We have a little bit more green to work with, so we're gonna open it just a shade. Now from there, we're gonna lean the shaft forward and we're gonna stand to the handle. And what that means is that when we stand to the handle, we're gonna get the butt of the club pointing just left of the belt buckle like that. I see a lot of you kind of standing off to the side. Don't do this. Try to go ahead and face the club shaft and let it point just left of the belt buckle. Now, from there, feet are pretty close, ball position pretty much in the middle, and then we're gonna put a little weight on the lead foot so my sternum here can get right on top of the golf ball. Make sure you don't get too much tilt off to the side. Now, that's the setup. Let's get into the wrist hinge. The wrist hinge, really, there's two key factors here. The first one is we want to get the club shaft working pretty much up the line of the lead forearm like this. You can see how that shaft is working up the line of my lead forearm. And when I get it about halfway back, you can see how that's still pretty well framed together. Be careful that we don't get the club head working way inside like this. I see this so many times in the short game and the full swing. It goes in and then it either bottoms out too soon, or we come over the top like this and we stick that leading edge in the ground. So hinge that club up the line of the lead forearm and rotate the face. Let the face rotate open a bit as a function of the lead hand. So I'm going ahead and rotating the face, turning my knuckles a little bit more up to the sky as I hinge the club up. So you can see that the toe of the club is pointing straight up and down and not curled in like that. That wrist hinge will make your life a lot easier when you get around the greens like this. Now let's bring it through. So we hinge it up. It's so good going back that we can just kind of hold it coming through and use the chest. Turn the chest through, open up, and keep the shaft relatively in line with your arms out in front of you. Don't let the club re-hinge back up the other side. That's a different kind of shot. And when we hit a hinge and hold, we want to try to keep it down like this, so it's kind of running in line with the lead forearm and pointing back towards the belly button, just like that. And you can see my chest turn through as I hit it. Final thing is, when you get to this position, notice my little dish here in my lower back. I see so many of you, when you turn, you go this way. Your spine goes forward. Give it a little extension in the spine. Give it just a little bit of a dish there. You can see my lower back. That helps support the rotation and really helps shallow out the club head. So here we go. Club face a little open. Weight to a little left. Good wrist hinge. And then I turn coming through, and you can see the ball had a little bit of check to it. And if you notice this little post-impact finish, you can still see things are in line and pointing back at my belly button. Good extension in the lower back. I like this shot. It's a hinge and hold shot. You should go to your practice range, grab your 56-degree wedge, work around the green, different types of shots. When you get good at it with the 56, then maybe go to the 60 or the 52 and hit different types of shots to different flex. You got to have a hinge and hold. It should be the go-to shot, and it's going to really lower your scores. All right, the hinge and hold, that's one of my favorite shots. You have to have that shot around the green. I like 56-12. It's got adequate bounce. Again, 54, 58, whatever the case may be. And when you hit that shot, you know, this is something that so many of you need to kind of feel, how to keep things structured on the other side. Good wrist hinge, and then turn and keep it in front of you, eliminating all this breakdown. So hit some of those shots first, you know, a little hinge. Look at this little finish here, running back up. My forearms pointing back at me, arms relatively straight. When you get good at that, then you can vary the finish. You can let the left elbow, left wrist fold a bit, a little harder shot. But if I take the same hinge and I do this, look at here, I fold that, that came out a little flatter and has a little bit more spin on it. So I hope you enjoyed this week's 14 Strong, the hinge and hold, building off of last week where we talked the driver. Go back and check that out as well. Now, quick reminder before we go to the next video, we want to see your videos here on the Stripe Show. Take a picture, face on target line. You're seeing the views. Let's see that full swing, that short game, that putting stroke, and give us a little idea what I can help you with, and send it to the Stripe Show at 18birdies.com. And it's time for another one of those videos. This one comes from Scott Ford. Let's check it out.
Okay, Scott, now first thing, at address, lots of good things here. You look very square, posture's nice, distance from the ball very good. The biggest thing in the swing is when we go back, and I'm sure you've been told this before, is that the left arm is very flat, right? You can see the left arm here is almost parallel to the ground, and then the shaft is in a laid off position, pointing well outside the ball target line. Now, this position, when you come down, you know, you really shallow it out even more. You can get away with this with the driver, right? But probably the long irons and even irons in general can be very difficult. You got a lot of good things coming through. You can see your weight's left, your body's rotating. A lot of good things coming through, but I think as you get into those shorter clubs, the more difficult things can be. So what we need to do is we need to get the arms and the hands working higher, right? How do we get this left arm to, say, get up in this area where it's covering the right shoulder? And then, of course, the club shaft, I think, would follow suit and be in a decent position. We've got to get that left arm higher, and if we can do that, then I think it's going to make things a little bit more conducive as the club gets shorter, and things will get a little bit more consistent through impact. So let's get to that.
All right, Scott, thanks so much. And thanks for following me on Twitter. For those that want to follow me on Twitter, go to @TravisFulton, and I'll answer your questions that you have there. And Scott sent this to me after submitting the video, and he says, thanks, Travis. I'm trying to stay competitive on the Golf Channel AM Tour, and it's becoming more and more difficult. It's so bad that the moment I've been asked if I ever considered tennis. No, we don't want to consider tennis. We're going to stay in golf. His index has blown from a 7.8 to an 18. And I compliment you, Scott, for sending your video in because I want to try to help you. And when you look at your swing, right now the lead arm is very flat, right? So we set up, and as we turn, that lead arm is well under this trail shoulder. And then what you do from there is you don't steepen it. You actually continue to shallow out. So this is a very shallow angle of approach into the ball, and it can be conducive with the driver, but as you start getting into the shorter clubs, it's harder to hit. So I can imagine right now the irons, and particularly short to mid, are very difficult. So let's get this lead arm in a position that'll kind of work you through all of these clubs here. So what I want you to do is I want you to really work your arms, in particular your lead arm. Make your turn, but just really get your arm swinging up this way. And if you have a mirror at home, I want you to set the mirrors, if the camera that I'm looking at, take it up there and get your lead arm, say, above this shoulder, right? Because if it's above when you're looking at it, then it's probably going to be covering it when you hit it. So you've got to get these arms and hands working. It's less pivot with you and more arms and hands. And I would even do some drills where you feel like you're not even turning, and just get your arms going up like this, and then from there, turn and swing through. Start with some short irons, then go to the mid iron, and I think you'll get your arms up higher, and that'll really work through the bag, and we're gonna get that handicap now going back down. Thanks so much, Scott, for sending in your video and for the notes. I think you're a good example for so many of our viewers out there. Now, let's go to our next video, and this one comes from Ari Krishnan. Ari, let's take a look at your swing.
All right, Ari, a couple things here. First thing, your feet are a little too squared in, so let's flare out the feet a bit, push the knees apart just a little bit as well, now to get your legs a little bit more activated. Now, you'll notice here that when we go back, watch your head here in relationship to that red line, it's going to start to drop, right? You can see the head really dropping down, and when you go down with the spine and the head going back, then as you come down into impact, you start making room by backing up. Now as you swing through here, you'll see your head is going to want to start to go this way, right? Instead of kind of staying over it and moving with the swing, covering it better and swinging back around to the left. And that's where you'll start missing it to the right because that club face can't get back around. So it goes back to couple things that we worked on a little earlier, where as we go to the top, we let the right leg push up a little bit more, take a little flexion out of that knee, right? So it's pushing up this way. The spine starts to extend back more. It feels like you're getting taller, and as you're getting taller, really you're staying more level, and then from there you can swing down and cover it better, where your head will stay a little bit more on top of it versus backing up to the right. All right, so let me show you that here again, and I think as you clean up the backswing, things will get better through impact.
All right, Ari, thanks so much for sending in your video there. And Ari is actually one of my students, and he plays for JU here at Jacksonville University, the Dolphins. He's a freshman, and I met Ari years ago over in Asia when we started this initiative over there in Southeast Asia, following Ari's career, terrific young man and a terrific young player. And I wanted to use this video today because this is a common error with so many people out there. And what Ari struggles with is when he takes it to the top of the swing, is he'll keep a lot of flexion in his right knee. That right knee will stay flexed, and then his spine will start to drop down. So that line that I put across his head, his spine's kind of flexing down this way, so he drops. When he comes down in the impact, then he kind of gets crunched and he has to back up this way to make room. So what we're always working on is trying to recruit more up. And I think this is really relative to so many of you in making a good turn to the top of the swing. Let the right leg start to work more up. You don't have to keep flexion. Let's go to that target line for a second. You don't have to keep flexion in that right knee so stable like that, because then your spine starts to drop. Let the right leg straighten up. Let the spine extend. Feel like everything's kind of working up from the ground this way. Ari feels like he's getting taller, and then when I show him at the top of the swing, his head is staying right there, nice and level. So we'll work a lot on setting up, getting the right leg going, getting the spine extending, not staying down. And then from there, he really makes a good turn and has time to go up and cover it. So here we go. Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, so that felt good. Get into that blue circle. Oh. So, hope that helps you at home. And this is a good segue now to this week's Pro Breakdown, because my thoughts are really much the same for Tiger Woods. He's got to get the driver working and get the miss in tighter. If he can do that, he is going to be a factor in 2 weeks at Augusta National. This week, the Pro Breakdown, Tiger Woods. All right, time for another Pro Breakdown here on the Stripe Show. Out here playing on the beautiful Pablo Creek Golf Club, 18th hole, par 4, 463 yards from the tips. But before we get to this hole, I want to talk about Tiger Woods this week in the Pro Breakdown. Love what Tiger's doing in his golf swing. It really is amazing when you look at it. 4 different teachers, all kinds of changes throughout the years, from Butch Harmon to Hank Haney to Sean Foley to Chris Como, but yet he's won 79 times and 14 major championships. And I like where Tiger is going with his swing. Certainly everything moving in the right direction. The putting stroke looks good. The short game looks good. Iron game, distance control, the speed is back with the driver. But I think if there's one little question mark, it's still continuing to keep the ball in play and eliminating that big miss with the driver. And I think the 3 things that really stand out for me with Tiger are really the key to hitting more fairways with the big stick. And I want to get into some of those changes, and I want to start with the setup position. The one thing that I really like that Tiger is doing now is standing a little closer to the golf ball. If you look at him, he gets in here and his feet are a little closer so he can stand a bit taller, and his hips are a little bit more underneath him. And I really like that. And of course, from face on, Tiger's so good with the driver, ball position forward. We talked about the driver in 14 strong last week and the hands being in line. That was one of the key points, with a subtle tilt to the right. He always just looks so comfortable and perfect from the face-on position. But I like that closer to the ball. I think Tiger there for a while was getting a little too far from it. He would get a little too bent over, and then the hand path would start to work inside. And when I look at Tiger now, the first principle when he was so successful is he had the width, the hands working out away. Look at my hands here. They're not working in too deep, but they're out away from me with the club head out in front. That width, I think, is so key for Tiger. I think it allows him to do 2 things, which are the other 2 principles. The second being that he can move just a little bit off the ball. You can see the weight now moving a little bit deeper into the right heel, maybe the hedge drifting a little bit off the ball. And I think those are all good things. Wider out here first, and then when he makes that big turn, just a little bit of a shift and a little bit of a loading sensation off the ball into the right side. Again, when the hands went inside, we saw Tiger kind of hang left. Get away with that with an iron, but with a driver, when you hang left, that can be a little detrimental. And as he would hang left, the final thing he would do is he would start to dip. He would start to lose his level. His head would go down, or his spine would flex down more this way, and that's very problematic. And I've been saying for many months now with Tiger on Golf Channel that the problem with the head dip is in the backswing. It's not the downswing so much, it's the backswing. When the hands go in and you start going down this way, it becomes problematic, because with Tiger, he had to make room. He's down here, and then when he would swing down this way, he would have to back up to the right. That side bend to the right would get the face looking too much out this way to the right, or he would have to kind of save it and flip it over, and then he'd get it going to the left, and you have that two-way miss. So now that he's wider, now that he's moving off the ball, he can stay taller. You can see him more up here. When Tiger was younger, big turn and up here, no drop in the head, in the backswing. And I really think it just comes down to those three things. If he can continue to do that with the driver, then he's going to have all the time in the world up here to get the club back down where he wants it, in much better path-face relationship through impact. And I think he's moving in the right direction. I think he's getting back to those core principles that he's been so successful with when he was younger and dominated the PGA Tour. So let's hope he can continue down that path. And if he can, who knows, a 5th green jacket at Augusta National could be in the future. All right, that's all Tiger has to do. He's got to continue more width, get loaded up on the right side, and stay taller. If he does that, he's got a really good chance to keep the driver in play. It's hard to believe someone at the caliber of Tiger Woods steps up to the 16th hole in the final round and is uncommitted. It's amazing what the game can do when you get indecisive, and even Tiger struggles with that routine and the commitment aspect of it. So hopefully he continues on. He's going to be a factor for that 5th green jacket. All right, we're going to have some fun here. We're going to hit some shots here to some of these targets. But before we do that, we've got a good question here from Sarah in Boca Raton. As a beginner who's only played a few rounds, which clubs should I be using? And I like this question here because there's a lot of beginners here to intermediate players at Topgolf. There is no intimidation here. You should come here and try the game. When you get into the game, I like a sand wedge. I like a pitching wedge, 8-iron, 6-iron, and then just a 3-wood. If not a 3-wood, maybe a 5-wood. That's all you need to get started in this game. And a putter, of course. That's all you need to get started. A club to tee off with, you got some irons to hit into the greens, and then you have a couple wedges and a putter to have some fun. Now, there's some other questions coming in. I'm going to get to these on Twitter. Keep submitting your questions. We're going to do a lot of this in future shows. Send it to the @18Birdies app or myself @Travis Fulton. And if I don't answer them on the show, I will answer them on Twitter. And again, send those videos in to an email @thestripeshow@18birdies.com. All right, so enough of that. Let's have some fun here. We're going to hit some shots. We're going to pan out. And of course, when you come to Topgolf, this first target right here, you can see is right here is this short little one, about 25 yards. And that's a perfect little shot for that hinge and hold that you learned earlier, where you just hinge it up and then you just turn through to that nice low finish like this. Look at that, get in there. Oh, bounced over the top. So watch my technique here. I'm gonna hinge it up. I'm gonna turn through it just to this nice little short finish, hit this medium shot to this first flag here. There it is, check that out, follow that, follow that. Oh, it landed just short of it again, but that's all you need. 20, 25 yards, little hinge and hold, nice little abbreviated motion. Now we're gonna go further out. See that yellow one there? That's about 70 yards, okay, thereabouts, maybe 80. We're gonna get into a little bit of pitch motion, so come bring it on back here. Watch this here. In a pitch motion, we're gonna build on that hinge and hold. What I like about the hinge and hold is it helps match things up here, right? We don't come in and just flip our wrists like this, but we hinge, a little conservative arm swing, and then we turn. Now we're gonna add a little more turn in the shoulders going back. So feet a little wider, I'm gonna turn my shoulders a little bit, but I'm gonna try to get things to line up the same way as I turn through. So this is like a shoulder high swing. We're gonna take it on out there at about 70 yards. There it is. That might land right smack in the middle. Boom, how many points do I get for that? Check this out here. I got I got 57 points right in the middle. And you can see it was just a 3/4 type of swing, right? It wasn't overdone going back. It wasn't overdone coming through. Framework, conservative, but then a nice sharp turn with the body, and that was another good one there. All right, now we're going to the big stick. And of course, here at Topgolf, that range is about 215 yards, and that net's way too high for me to hit over, but I got to keep it in the middle of the net to get points. There's a blue stripe going there. Like last week, we talked about the driver setup in 14 strong. We said we want to get in here, ball forward, get tilted, hands in line with the club head, and then really round this thing out. So here we go. We're going for all the marbles. Topgolf, big stick. Oh, don't follow that one. Don't follow that one. Back, eyes back on me. Eyes back on me. Here we go. Here we go. That one didn't count. There it is. There it is. Right down the middle. Oh yeah, we're gonna get good points for that. Check this out. We're gonna get some good points for that. Come on, talk to me. Talk to me. Oh, I didn't get it. That was right down the middle, J-Man. I promise you. But Topgolf, that's what you can do. You can go through all your clubs. You don't need your own clubs. They've got some clubs here that you can use. But have some fun with some of the things that you're learning here on the Stripe Show and put it to use the next time you go to Topgolf near you or the next time you go to the golf course. Time for one more viewer submission, and this one comes from a young man up in Missoula, Montana, where they got a couple inches of snow last night, Joseph Kendrick. Joseph, what do you got?
Okay, Joseph, a lot of good things here. The first thing that jumps out to me is your clubs could probably be just a little bit longer. Nice posture, good angles there. But I think you check there, maybe just get the club just a shade longer at address. Now, when we go back here, you're going to see this club in relationship to that yellow line, just as a general rule of thumb. You can see that club gets underneath pretty quick, right? Your hands are on it, but the club head kind of dips underneath, and when it gets parallel to the ground, you can see how that club head is too far behind your hands. And ideally, you want that club head a little bit more out in front of you. So club head a little inside, and then the tendency is when it gets inside is then we come down from the outside, right? So we're coming down, say, steeper or more to the outside than when we went back. And what I'm going to show you here is we're going to reverse that. We're going to get the club head going back a little bit more to the outside, right, out towards that little line there above the plane line. And then when we come down, we're going to try to get this shaft more back in here like this on the right forearm, and that'll give you a better delivery position to really utilize what is a nice weight shift and good rotation through the body. Looks like you create good speed. I love your balance through the strike. I'm just going to show you a couple things regarding the backswing and the downswing and how to change that up a bit.
Stuff there, Joseph. I know you had a little bit of snow up there and it's hard to get out there, but I'm going to show you something that's going to help you kind of keep the club on plane. So we're going to go to this target line camera here, and again, here we are. You get the club head going too far inside like this, and then from there we got to recover and come down steep. So this is all swing shape type of stuff, and your body has to relate to that. It has to respond to that. So we need to kind of recalibrate it. Take a head cover, just put it down like this, about 1.5 feet up here, the target line. And then what I want you to do is just focus on that club head going up over that, right? Get that club head going out towards it and then up above it like this. And when I do that, I feel my right elbow folding like this, and I feel my lead wrist more passive. It might even have just a little bit of a cup to it instead of everything going in here like this, all right? So a little right elbow pickup, left wrist going to be a little bit more passive so the club head can work up like this. And then as you turn to the top and come down, let it return back from the inside. So it's a really good visual of this first move. You want to get that pegged first, make your turn, and then let it shallow out from the inside. And you can see now just in 2 episodes of the Stripe Show, I like that swing plane to be a little bit more out here, and then I like that downswing to kind of shallow out and work back underneath it and not the other way around. So I hope that helps you, Joseph, because that is an error that so many of you at home, I promise you, you might be doing as well. So that's a good drill. All right, let's go and segue here to our final segment here on the Stripe Show from Topgolf Jacksonville. It's been a blast here, and this time we're gonna do the 60-second swing fix to finish the show. J-Man, you got the time?
You go it.
All right, here we go. Give me a time.
And go.
All right, 60 seconds. We're going back to Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer, when I think of him on the golf course, the grip, the best grip of all time. Here's what you can learn from Arnie's grip. The first thing is his left hand, his thumb was to the right, and his right hand kind of favored the right as well. Both of these creases right here were running over here towards his right ear, right shoulder. He wasn't this way. So both hands were to the right. The second thing is short thumb. See that thumb? Nice and compact in here. Don't make it a long thumb, make it a short thumb, just like that. Don't pinch it this way, but just right up in here like you're pinching some grass in there. Those short thumbs can really help. And then finally, this right hand, cover up the left thumb. It was like a clamp. It would just come in and just clamp down on that left thumb. I see so many of you like this. Don't do that. Make sure that right thumb's going over and covering up that left thumb. And if you can do that, check that out. You'll have a grip just like the king, Arnold Palmer. Thanks so much, everyone. This has been a blast here. Episode 2 of the Stripe Show. We'd like to thank Topgolf here for having us here, a beautiful facility. We'd like to thank the Tour Junkies, Pat Perry and Dave Barnett, for all your help this week. Scott Ford, Ari Christian, and Joseph Kendrick, thanks so much for sending in your swings. And remember, I want to see your video of your swing. Send it to the Stripe Show at 18birdies.com. If you have questions, send them to me on Twitter at Travis Fulton, or you can send them to at 18Birdies app as well. Next week, we are going home, Jacksonville Golf and Country Club. That'll be home of the Stripe Show, and we've got some really cool stuff planned for you once we get onto the links next week at Jacksonville Golf CC. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.